Well, at least it lived up to its title. Random Acts of Violence is a new Shudder original from the director of Goon, Last of the Enforcers, and I'm going to tell you right now there's going to be spoilers throughout this review. And I'm going to also tell you that really besides the, gory parts, there really isn't much to this movie. While it lives up to the title, it also doesn't expand on it at all. It thinks it's smarter than it actually is, and unfortunately, even at 80 minutes, this motherfucker feels very, very stretched out. And the characters really aren't all that good. You have a character of Todd, played by Jesse Williams, who has created this character, Slasher Man, and he just kills people in random ways. But it's apparently a really popular comic book series, so much so that he goes from Toronto to New York for a convention, and he has his girlfriend Kathy, played by Jordana Brewster, and there's also the director playing the character of Ezra, and also a girl named Aurora. And I'm not going to lie to you, I wanted to give this a chance because you did have some comic book inspired, little pieces, in the credits and throughout the movie. You get these cool, and they're very, very well drawn. I mean, whoever did them did a phenomenal fucking job. And it was kind of cool, did all the R-rated stuff and showed this killer, just dismembering people and doing them in a way that ties into these, various comic book, graphic novels, whatever you want to call them. And the killer is also just called The Man. The thing is they tried to almost go a Jeepers Creepers type vibe, I think, at first, with the van and just him doing the killings. Here's the thing about it, though. Eventually, when you do a movie called Random Acts of Violence, if you are just trying to do a throwback to, the exploitation movies from the 70s, okay, I get that. But this movie also tried to treat itself a little bit too seriously. It didn't have nearly enough fun with its concept, and it wasn't very good. Because the characters were also way paper thin. They would just do random shit. Like Kathy was trying to figure out more information about these killings and everything, and, maybe bring the victims' names to light, do her own project and get interviews with people. And Todd is kind of disturbed because he's been coming up with all this stuff. And how did he come up with all this? It turns out he witnessed the Slasher Man, or the inspiration for Slasher Man, played by The Man. And he saw this as a kid, apparently, but had been mentally projecting that it was somebody else's story that had inspired him. And that's pretty much what you got for this movie. At 80 minutes, this should have been at a brisk pace. And when the killings happened, when the violence started occurring, I thought it would have been yeah, okay, cool, something's happening. You know what? They were just kind of there. And not even random, oh, okay, oh shit, this killer could strike out anywhere. It's no, we just have set pieces, we just have people, and that's all we're just going to fucking do. And none of the characters, even the main characters, felt like they had any depth to them at all. Now, maybe that was by design, from the director and from the writer, and they were okay, they'll just cheer for these people killing. Or these people being killed. No, I just really was cheering once the end credits started. The movie only has a few positives, doesn't have a lot beyond its surface, and it doesn't do enough with its concept to really keep things going. As things go on, they see this van, they almost collide with the van while going out on this trip, and oh no, they almost ran into the killer, and if they had run into him and killed him, well then that would have been the end of it. But no, the killer eventually stalks them, and it turns out he's calling out numbers when he calls Todd. He even calls him on the radio show and says, these numbers, here are these numbers. And it turns out it's the year, the volume, the issue, and the page. So, okay, cool, all right. So they figure out these various killings. One is 3 people human centipede together in this weird, almost Hydra-like thing. Another is a family being shot up, and other just, random acts of violence. But since they're inspired by these comic books, they're not necessarily random. The guy has his own twisted vision about what would be going on, but they're not necessarily random. The movie's a little bit inconsistent with how it does its, with its tone and everything, and how it identifies the word random. That being said, it does eventually come to pass that they get captured. Ezra gets killed, which, no big loss. I mean, the director wasn't bad, but the character was just a plot device. Aurora gets killed early on in the movie, about halfway through. And there was this funny scene earlier where there's this broken down gas station. There are a lot of broken down gas stations between Toronto and New York, asking for a friend because I've never been to Canada. But it was just kind of funny. There was like nothing. It looked like they hadn't gotten the delivery in like 5 years. They put a bunch of comic books on the rack, and then this killer sees them and is like, oh, he's continuing my work. And that inspires him to do these killings, apparently. And then when everybody else is dead but Todd and the killer, they face off, and they're back in the same house where Todd had, seen this shit happen. And then he ends up killing him. The killer says, "Oh no, kill me, and and our work will live forever. You couldn't find anything to your comic book, so kill me, and it'll live forever." And then he kills him, and the killer's realizing, maybe I didn't want to die, but then he dies, and then the house gets burned down, and then that's pretty much it. That's about it for the movie. The movie really isn't all that much. Like, honestly, I mean, like, really, this is about what it deserves. It's just crumpled up and thrown away. And the thing is Shudder actually has a lot of really good shit. I just didn't really enjoy this one all that much. That being said, the idea was fine. The execution really wasn't all there. The acting wasn't horrible. It was just kind of there. And also the comic book inspired stuff. The drawing, the drawings were pretty damn good. And sure, some of the gore is fine, but really, it just gets a D. That's it. I can't really recommend it beyond that, but it gets a D. It's not the worst thing I've seen this year. Fucking hell, I've seen a lot worse. But that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.